Welcome to Between State Lines.
That's one of my chores, though, is that I have these little holy water bottles. And I need to put the holy water in it, but they don't, like, unscrew like you do, but it just has a tiny hole. So I gotta, like, suck it up.
Wait, so you have a bunch of holy water bottles?
5. I got 5.
You have 5.
Yeah, I don't have enough holy water for how many bottles I have, but I'll just have to get more from my source.
What? Okay. What? Where do you get holy water from?
From a Catholic church.
Do you just like it's like your drug dealer? You text them like, "Hey man, can I get some of that good juice, that holy water?"
Basically, somebody else wanted some holy water from him, and I said no. And he said, "Sorry, I'm scared of her." So
You have
now I was
I
like,
did
"No,
not
you
know.
supply me," and I think his grandmother gets it. Well, I think that it's open to anybody. Like, he asked the church if it's okay to take some, and they're like, "Yeah, for sure." So he filled this little water bottle. It's not a ton, so it's only probably going to be able to fit into like 1 or 2 of my little holy water bottles. But yeah, I have 5 of them. So
What? Where did you get holy water bottles
from a
from?
Catholic church, and they said it was okay.
No,
Got
no, I mean
permission.
like the little bottles. That's where you got them from,
Oh,
or
the little Amazon.
okay.
But
Uh,
but the person that got the holy water for me said that their grandmother has the little holy water bottles, and then I showed them what I have, and they said that's the exact same one. So I'm buying the same ones that the Catholic Church gives out.
I'm not allowed to judge you for this. You made the
You can
rule. I
judge me
can't.
for it. I ate cabbage
No,
soup too, and it was great.
you said, and I quote, "Don't judge me for my Amazon purchases because
I did
I
actually
will
say
cut your
that.
password off." So I can't judge you now. You told me it's Amazon.
Yeah, I actually did say that really recently, and I do stand by it. You're right.
Okay,
Don't judge me
great
for me.
purchase, amazing purchase. I
Thank you.
think that was the best purchase. I want some myself actually.
I mean, the Catholic Church gives them away, and I actually did get one of these for use, but I haven't decided if I'm actually going to give it to you. So we'll see. Maybe.
It's like randomly a package shows up at my doorstep. Holy water.
Yeah, just one thing of holy water.
What if I drink it? Do I become holy?
Don't drink it. People's hands.
Oh, gross. Okay.
Yuck. Don't do that.
Well, bummer. Well, welcome back to Between State Lines. We were just talking about holy water and how amazing of a purchase that Stephanie made off Amazon. Um, Episode 54, and guys, this week, the government decided to try to Mandela affect us with the Epstein list, and because it does not exist, it never did exist. Um, and we're all just remembering this incorrectly. Like it never existed. And Pam Bondi never said the list was on her desk. Never.
Interesting. I haven't been watching the news this week.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Wow.
It's so you didn't miss
What?
anything. It doesn't exist.
It never existed.
She also
We're all nuts.
she also made the funniest excuse. So obviously there's missing camera footage from Epstein's apparent alleged suicide.
Of course.
Um, that no one's seen. It's like could just gone missing. I think it's like a few minutes of airtime, whatever. The reporters asked her this week why that footage was missing and what happened, and her excuse, the way first of all, the excuse she had was BS. It was like, oh, the camera is reset every 24 hours at the same time. and it just records over, and so that 5 minute span is no longer there, and it's just a glitch in the camera system. They're old systems, and that's that. But the way she said it, she was struggling so much. It reminded me of like when I don't do something at work I was supposed to do like a month ago, and I'm trying to tell my boss why I'm late doing this. I'm trying to make up
Uh,
excuses.
yeah. About that. Damn.
Yeah, so like I was well, see what happened was someone did this and then this, like that's exactly how she said it. She's like, well, what happened was this and like
Yeah. Yikes. Interesting. Interesting week in the world. It wasn't the worst week. It was just the longest week of my life. The only news that I heard was that the world was supposed to like spin faster or something. And it didn't feel like it. I think I made for a
yeah.
2-day work week every week.
I think I'm made for a no day work week.
I
Just
could do 2 days and I just lose all enthusiasm.
give me Monday and Wednesday. No, Tuesday and Wednesday. I'll do Tuesday and Wednesday and then have Thursday, Friday, and Monday off. And
I'll
I'm
do
good.
Monday, Tuesday, be miserable those 2 days, and then just be happy the rest of the week. That sounds great to me.
I don't know. I feel like it would still put me in a funk. Mondays suck in general. And so
They
working on
do.
Mondays just would throw me
I'd
off.
like to just get it over with. Why would I want to spend him? I don't want to waste my Monday at home. Just go be miserable at work. Have a great Wednesday through Sunday.
So in other news, obviously we had that massive flash flood last week in Texas, which
Texas
number one conspiracy theorists are saying that it was cloud seeding that did it. That
is what?
cloud seeding.
What's cloud? Oh,
So
like when we make our own rain clouds?
yeah, it's like a short-lived thing.
Okay, I got really into a rabbit hole about that one morning at like 3 a.m. I don't really remember, but that rings a bell.
So, and for those of us who the crowd or audience who do not know what it is, yeah, it's basically just you're like feeding moisture into a cloud in order to produce more rain. It's usually beneficial in like deserts or like places where there's been a bad drought. They don't typically do it in over moisturized areas because obviously they don't need the extra water. But conspiracy theorists are saying the government did this and that they fed the clouds too much water and caused people to die and flooding to happen, which has been like debunked because no one did any cloud seeding first of all, and any time or anywhere near that area that the flooding happened. But it's just an awful situation where climate change is happening in rapid time and is on display. But with that flood, Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Director, waited 72 hours to deploy additional resources to Texas,
That
which could have saved lives.
that doesn't surprise me. Does it seem like they're ever in a rush to go help people? I like ever because I don't remember us sending like any help when floods were taking out homes on the East Coast or to Hawaii. Like, do do we do that?
Well, hold
Do
on.
we just abandon people?
They sent help to Hawaii. They sent Oprah to buy all the property up.
I don't think that's what I meant.
Technically she was helping herself, line her own pockets, helping the billionaires line their own pockets, and that actually really frustrates me that so many. I mean, billionaires piss me off in general, but like Hawaii is. First of all, we stole Hawaii. I mean, that's
Yeah.
first of all, we fucking stole Hawaii. But
Well,
second of all, like so many got them. That so many billionaires just like steal land from native Hawaiians essentially, and then drive the price up for other places in Hawaii so much where the natives can't live there anymore. Like it's such bullcrap.
yeah. Yeah. I just because wasn't there two big disasters in Hawaii? Like I know the fires were huge, but since then wasn't there like a volcano?
Yeah, I think there was a volcano on one of the islands, and it definitely. I don't know how many people were impacted, but it had a pretty big impact from what I recall, and destroyed a lot of
Yeah, and I
homes.
felt like we didn't send anything for that. Like we were just whatever.
But
Good luck.
like you're on your own. Get fucked.
Yeah, like most things these days, I just don't understand. They're like, well, we don't have any money for anything. Pay more taxes. I broke a candle and I just am trying to find the bottom of it.
Oh no. Yeah, they have no money to help people, but they have money to send bombs over to Israel and help bomb Palestine and Iran
Yeah. They
and
have no
other.
money for anything except for our agenda, and I'm just tired of it. It
It's
doesn't make any sense.
it is truly exhausting. Um, but in less depressing news, I mean, kind of still depressing, but not as depressing as the previous 2 points. Apparently TikTok is working on a United States only app and are going to spin it off and sell it to U.S. investors. No one knows who the investor or investors are. Um, just that this is coming down the pipeline and it'll be out. Apparently, according to this anonymous report, it'll be out in September and they'll roll it out and then they'll disable the US TikTok, I believe, in the spring of next year.
Wow.
So,
Knew it was coming, but stupid. I mean, it already feels like it's changed so much in the last few months.
oh, it absolutely has. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just a crapshoot. I mean, my videos on my page and the podcast page doesn't really get any traction. So, like,
Yeah. Yeah, I just stopped posting stuff. It just I don't know. And it just felt like people were disappearing. Like regular people that I saw all the time, I wasn't seeing them anymore. And I was getting a lot more ads, and especially for like Facebook and Facebook, Instagram, products, famous people. It just isn't the same.
yeah. I also feel like what really has annoyed me, besides all that, is one, the algorithm is so awful. Like, not only do you get those videos you said in the ads, but yeah, like you don't get the people that you used to get on your page. You just get a bunch of like I've gotten so many MAGA creators this last week. I'm not like consuming MAGA content, but I get pushed MAGA stuff anyways.
Yeah,
Um,
I haven't even really been on there as much, so I don't even know what it's pushing for me anymore. I just haven't been catching as much. I feel like we've been incredibly successful with Instagram Reels. I don't
we
know
have,
why the videos have been so good lately. I still get frustrated with like Facebook videos because they cut off. Um whereas like if I just watch the same creators on TikTok, then I can watch the whole thing. But yeah, the reels have been really good.
they've been slapping. They've been like the blend has been less weird and more. I feel like it's still a
Yeah,
little weird. Okay,
it's still a little weird.
Okay, what videos are you seeing that are weird? I need clarification on this. I feel like I
No,
don't
they're
see the
not
same
as weird
ones.
as they were, but sometimes I'm just like, what?
Are they still butthole jokes?
No, not as many, for sure.
That's
That
mean.
was weird.
I feel like I need to see like what you're seeing at some point. It's like I don't. I feel
Well, I
like mine
started
are all
sending
like
him a lot of
stoner.
them.
You what?
I started sending a lot of them.
Oh, that's what you've been sending me.
Yeah, I haven't been liking as many because I don't really like that Instagram shows the things that you like. So I haven't really been liking them. I've just been sending them to you.
I when I found out like a month ago that Instagram like exposes you and like shows your likes like that, it was eye opening. Like a lot of content that was unexpectedly liked by people that I'm friends with. I'm like, whoa, okay, okay,
Yeah,
you're into that. All right.
yeah. For the most part, I've expected what I've seen, which hasn't been a ton. I don't get a ton of time on social media lately, and it's hard enough to catch up on like the things that you or my sisters send me. But yeah, I don't know. There's the things that I've seen from a couple of people, I'm like, oh, that I relate to that. And then there's just been a couple of people I'm like, okay. Didn't know, but now I do.
But now, but now you
And
know.
now I can never not know.
Now you can never not know
Yeah, but just don't like anything. And then there's no evidence. I
until
only
they
like the
start.
things that I
And,
stand by publicly.
until they start showing people what you're watching and it's like watched by. I'm like, oh
No,
man, well, gotta abandon this app.
really do.
Yeah, but it has gotten less weird, and it's still like I feel like it's a much better algorithm than TikTok is right now. And I definitely won't even bother going to the new TikTok. Like I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah,
Like I
no
don't.
thanks.
No, thank
Hard
you.
pass.
Um, so I figured we would do a quick beef corner and then some creepy facts that I found this week. So, number one on the beef corner is fuck you, the entire Trump administration. I'm just lumping it into one. I can't do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Number two, fuck the groundhog in my front yard. I got poison this week and started putting poison out for him. And he is evading all the poison, all the traps, and I don't know what else to do. If someone who's listening to this knows how to get rid of groundhogs, and don't tell me to blow my yard up, uh, because yes, that is an option, but no, I will not do that. It's frustrating. I can't get rid of him. He like buries the traps. I'm like, how are you doing this? How are you outsmarting
He's
a
amazing.
35-year-old human?
He is amazing.
He just really
Smartest
loves
groundhog.
living in my yard.
Huh?
He really loves living in my yard.
Yeah. He thinks you should leave. He's setting up an intricate whole system so your house will fall into his home and become his home.
You know what, Mr. Groundhog? If you give me money for my house and enough to buy another house, I will gladly move. Okay? But you got to pony the dough up. I need money.
Where's he
This
gonna get
economy,
money?
um, Steph, he's a groundhog. He digs tunnels. He could dig a tunnel into someone's house, steal their money, and then
That's
come
what he's
back.
doing to you.
Gotta check my stash of money then. Son of a bitch.
Look under the mattress.
There's like a giant hole there. My cats are useless
That's where the groundhog's been the whole time.
the whole time. Um, Yeah, so that's my beef corner. Just two. Oh, and then fuck you, TikTok. So three.
Yeah,
There we
fuck
go.
you, TikTok.
Uh,
Dang.
so do you have any beef that you want to unleash today?
I don't think I have a lot of beef this week. I mean, I'm down with all the ones that you've brought up so far. I still want to say fuck you, Subway. Just gonna throw that one out there.
Who the fuck eats at Subway?
Anybody
Who
who
the
wants to
fuck?
get sick,
It's disgusting.
it's not real food.
Gross. What is wrong with you?
Jersey Mike's never let me down. I had Killer Burger today for the first time
I've
ever.
never heard of that.
They have a couple in like Oregon, and then I think they had a couple in Washington and Idaho.
Mm.
But I thought it was delicious. Um, my daughter took like the smallest bite in the world, and she said that she thinks there's poison in it because why else would it be called Killer Burger? So then
That's
she
a fair
decided she
point.
was not going to be eating anything else from her lunch. Drink the
She's
juice though.
she's very smart. That's a good point.
I mean, it was a good point. I tried to argue that it was just killer, like a surfer with killer waves. Um, it wasn't flying. It wasn't flying.
No, I'm on her side. I am on her side. If you're calling your place Killer Burger, I'm assuming you're trying to kill me. That's what I'm going
They
into
do have
in
like
this.
really interesting burgers. I got the purist, which is just like a normal burger. I think they had burger and bacon on it. But they have like peanut butter burgers and stuff.
When you get a burger, what how what's the like do you get well done? Do you get medium well, rare? How do you get your burger?
Just like done. Just, yeah, done.
Like no pink at all?
It could have a little bit of pink and I'd be okay.
Okay. You're not a raw person. Good. Okay.
Not with processed beef.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know people who eat like rare steak and like rare burgers. It's like it looks like it needs to be cooked like for another hour because it's disgusting, and they just eat it.
Yeah. Like I can do like medium rare steak. I like it if it's got a nice crust on both sides. And then it can be like pink in the middle and be fine. But it has to have like a nice crust. Because really you just have
I
to make the
agree.
crust and then it's like basically done.
Yeah, that's
If you
fair.
need more time, throw it in the oven for like a couple minutes.
I do love a good grilled steak. Like get it nice and seasoned, slap it on the grill. Mm, now I want a steak.
Yeah, it's so easy. I think last weekend I made just like a huge family pack of steaks and then just cut up a couple of them, left a couple whole, left them in the fridge, and was like, okay, we can take these for lunches.
Yeah,
But
fuck
then
yeah.
I was the person who had a baggie full of steak several days this week.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's so good. Steak is good.
I did get made fun of, but it was fine. I was good with it.
Um, so creepy facts this week I found, and I didn't know this this first one. When you get an organ transplant, they don't take usually. In some cases they do, but usually they do not take your old organ out. They leave it in case the new one fails, and they have a backup, so you're not just like dead. Usually,
How does your body know to just go to the backup one?
I think they have it in there where it's like I guess like for example, your kidneys, the main like I don't know how to what the word is, but like the main connections I guess are towards the new one, and I guess like there's a few connections left on the old one to keep it like alive.
What if the other one really sucks.
Apparently, they don't take it out unless it's diseased or it's actually hurting you. So if like
Okay.
it's just if it's like just failing and it's not doing what it's supposed to do, they leave it in there. But if
So they
it's
won't refuse to take it out. They will take it out if they need to.
yeah, if
But
it's
most of the
medically
time, they
necessary.
leave it in there.
Mm-hmm. I had no idea.
So you take my kidney, but you keep your kidney. That's not how this works. What?
It's honestly, it's also pretty crazy to me. Like with kidneys, and again, I'm not a doctor, obviously, but like with kidneys, you can survive with one kidney, obviously. Because if you donate a kidney, you're usually fine with just one. But if you need a kidney, in most cases, it's both kidneys are somewhat impacted, and you can't have just the one. They can't just pull one out and you live off of the other one. Like it's essentially both are somewhat impacted. It's not just one.
Yeah, one's just probably worse off than the other, but they're both
Yeah,
not great.
yeah, it's pretty freaking wild. Uh, there will soon be more dead people on Facebook than living ones. Given the current growth trends, it's predicted that within a few decades, the number of deceased user profiles will outnumber those of living users, essentially turning Facebook into a digital graveyard.
That's crazy. I don't want to be part of the Facebook digital graveyard. I'm going to take my stuff and download it and get off there someday. I keep telling myself, you're going to get off Facebook.
See, I
I'm not
want to
even
be
that
part of the,
attached to Marketplace.
but see, I want to be, I want to be in the digital graveyard. I want like as a ghost, I want to randomly just message somebody out of the blue after I die, or like, let's say my friend like turns onto my account like to message me, and then all of a sudden they see the three dots typing or whatever, and then it goes away.
What about like spammy things could take over, like bust into those profiles? So then, yeah, it's just basically a digital graveyard, yes, but of like spam and robots. It sounds awful. And
Yeah,
political
but see,
garbage.
but but see, it'd be me hacking my own account,
Yeah, I guess so.
spamming. You'll like
It
this
sounds
next
so.
fact, and it's less of a fact, but more like just a little tidbit. When two people kiss, they make one long tube, butthole to butthole.
This is why our algorithm is the way it is.
No, I just saw this one today.
Sure.
I mean, that's. I mean, it's pretty. You know, I don't know. That was pretty cool.
I
Next
guess.
time you kiss somebody,
Fun
you're
fact.
one long tube.
Make sure that you work that into conversation sometime this week, guys.
Yes, exactly. When you're in the meeting one on one with your boss, like, is there anything else you want to talk about this week? Yes. When you kiss somebody, you are essentially one long tube with two buttholes.
Straight to HR.
Straight, straight to the firing. You're done. Get out of there. Um, Cannibalism is not illegal in the UK. The caveat to that is you can't just kidnap people and murder them and eat them. You have to that be permission has to be given to you by that person through legal means to eat them after they die. But they have to actually die naturally or, in some other way, not being murdered by you.
I guess I don't understand. Is there any other thing out there that we eat after it dies?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
Yucky. But also cannibalism. Just had to point that out.
And no, you may not eat my body. You may not take me to the UK and eat me after I die, Steph. That is not in the cards here. On the
Pass.
record.
Pass.
When dentures were originally created, they were made, the teeth were made by removing the teeth from dead soldiers. They'd yank them out and stick them in a denture and give them to someone who lost their teeth.
Where was this at?
In America in the 1700s.
Because I heard that they used to use like slave teeth too.
Yeah, I think that's also probably around the same time. I think that the soldier one was probably during the Revolutionary War, and people were just dropping dead more often than not.
So there we are.
Yeah, there we are.
Using the dead bodies.
I think George Washington actually had his slaves' teeth made it into dentures, and I believe
that's what I've heard too, because they always said his teeth were made of wood. But that was like the elementary version of the story, so they wouldn't have to admit to darker past.
Like, damn, I didn't know that the slaves had wooden teeth. Oh, snap. Motherfucker. Okay. And the last one is that one day the planet Mercury will be eaten by the sun. However, there is a 1%, and this is long after millions of years after we've died. There is a 1% chance it won't be eaten by the sun, but flung out of its orbit, and could potentially hit Venus or Earth and send flying particles all over the solar system. And this particular scenario is caused by Jupiter tugging on the planet and edging it towards being out of its orbit.
Jupiter, can you quit being so stupid?
Yeah, do it faster.
Take us out.
Speed it up, brother. Come on.
Taking forever. Damn.
Fucking god damn it. Son of a fucking bitch.
It's been rough.
Yes, that is the creepy facts of the week. My favorite one is the whole organ transplant one. I had no idea they leave organs in your body. Just someone's going around collecting them like Pokemon cards.
Yeah, like that just sounds so weird. Like, you take my kidney and you still keep yours. Mine's not good enough for you. I just gave it up and you're still keeping yours?
You son of a fucking bitch.
I actually passed a house last night, going to that concert I told you about. And it had a sign outside that was like, need a kidney for Ken. I don't know what his name was, but like, oh.
I always see there's like one car in my town that drives around, and they are looking for, I think, bone marrow. And yeah, I've heard donating bone marrow is a very, very painful process.
Yeah, I signed up to see if I was a match for somebody at one point, but it was a lot of work. I didn't make it very far. But then I had a friend who signed up, and then I think that they were supposed to, and then something happened and they didn't have to anymore. I don't know what happened, but Yeah, like he had like time off for it. I don't think he ended up doing it for some reason.
Did you know that, and I found this out this week, that when you get like bit by a wild animal and they give you rabies shots, it's they typically give you like 5 or 6 shots around where you were bitten, and then one in each arm to prevent the virus from spreading or even, you know, going anywhere. Um, but I saw this video where this guy was feeding, I think, a squirrel, which always reminds me of The Office when Daryl is feeding the squirrel. Which also, have you seen the any of the super cut extended episodes of The Office they have on Peacock?
No, no, I have not. No,
So
you told me to like a million years ago. I did not.
the one episode, Michael obviously goes to Canada and he sleeps with the concierge Marie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then later on in the last season he's in the show, he thinks he has herpes and he's like going around and talking to all his ex girlfriends about herpes and like, that whole plot line. Well,
Yes.
in the extended episode of that episode, he's calling. He's like talking to Dwight in the office, and they hear the phone ringing, and then someone picks up and says, "Hello, concierge office. How can I help you?" And he says, "Yes, you need to get tested for herpes," and hangs up.
Oh my god.
It's such a good callback. I'm like, it was it's so funny. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, what the and it's not even concierge Marie, it's some random fucking concierge.
That's what I was wondering. Was it even the same person?
Right. I think it was like
Nope.
what, 3 years later, whatever. Yeah, that was funny. But so rabies shots. They give you shots all around where the bite was. So this guy got bit on his finger, and because there's no muscle really in your finger, that they can inject any kind of like numbing agent into, and the skin
Mm-hmm.
is so thin, they had to give this guy 6 shots around his finger, and with no numbing, and it's like really painful. And the doctor was like, "I just want to prepare you. This is going to be extremely painful for you. Like, it's not going to be fun. This will be the most pain you've ever felt." And the guy's like, "Okay, let's do it." And he had like no reaction to it. And I was like, "Holy fuck!" I'm like sitting here panicking. I hate needles.
No reaction to it? He was okay?
No, he was okay. I was like, "What the fuck?"
Wow. I'm
Yeah,
sitting here like holding my breath. Then you're
like
like,
that.
no reaction to it. What?
I'm like, "What is this? Inhuman?" Like, maybe he was stoned. Maybe he just like smoked a bunch of weed beforehand. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe he was on some sort of calming thing. Xanax?
Have you seen any videos of people on any videos of people that have been infected by rabies?
No.
It's it's terrifying. Like, go on TikTok tonight before you go to sleep and like look up
No.
rabies. But like, you really do have a fear of water, and you can't. Your body is like won't let you swallow it, so you can't drink it. You just like spit it back up right away. And so I was like shaking all over, and it's just probably one of the scariest diseases I've seen somebody have on video.
Dang.
Yeah. So
That sounds scary. I guess I didn't even realize what rabies is like, besides like the foaming at the mouth thing that you
yeah,
see when movie kind of stuff.
yeah. That's what I thought it was too. And then it's really a fear of water, and you can't drink it, and you don't even die from like thirst. You die from just the virus eating away at your brain. So you're essentially you are thirsty as fuck, but that isn't even what kills you. You're miserable, and then you can't drink water, and then you're just dead. So
Wow, new fear unlocked.
new fear unlocked. So the lesson here is if you get bit by a wild animal, go get a rabies shot because you will
It's gonna
die.
hurt like hell, but you will die.
Just make sure if you're gonna get bit by a wild animal, just get bit in like the arm because then you have a lot of fat there and like muscle, and it can actually numb you up.
Just call a hearse.
Just, I'm gonna pet that thing.
Yeah, might as well call a hearse because I'm about to pet that thing.
That would be you.
Yes.
You and Daryl just feeding the squirrel. Me with this goddamn groundhog when I fucking find it one day. Its final revenge is biting me and giving me rabies.
No, his final revenge would be owning your home and you having to move.
Well, I think his better revenge is to murder me and then steal my home.
I think it's your home's just gonna lower slowly into the ground and
Oh
become
my
his
God.
home. And then you'll have to build a new home on top of his home.
That'd be wild though if your home just like sunk into the ground because of a groundhog.
That would be wild.
The funny thing is, like across the street, there is like a field. Like, go the fuck in the field, dude. No one's gonna bother you over there. Like, fuck off. Get
He
out of my
likes
yard.
your house.
He's an a-hole. Mother. Okay, so
But yeah, definitely an a-hole.
definitely. So last week we read that parts 1 and 2 of the story Pen Pal. And they were the stories titled Footsteps and Balloons. And so this week is part 2. And the first one is called Boxes. So we'll read this, and I think we'll probably get through 2 parts again, and then we'll wrap it up next week for the third and final part. But
Perfect.
yeah, and as a recap, this guy, when he was a kid, he essentially someone kidnapped him from his house and left him outside in the woods, and then that happened one night, and then years before that, his kindergarten class sent balloons out with a letter and stamps and their school address on it, and this kid received like 50 plus Polaroids of himself taken from the perspective of an outsider over a long period of time, and so he's being stalked by some random person, presumably a guy because it's always a guy in every instance. But so boxes. If you haven't read Footsteps or Balloons, please do so before reading what's below so you understand. For those of you who have read my other stories and asked if there was more and received cryptic answers from me, I want to apologize for being dishonest. I said several times in the comments that nothing really happened after Footsteps, but that wasn't really true. The events of the following story weren't locked away in the recesses of my mind. I've always recalled them. It wasn't until I remembered balloons and spoke with my mom about the following events that I realized how intertwined the story was with everything else. But I originally hadn't planned on sharing this anyway. My desire to withhold this memory was due to mostly to the fact that I don't think I showed good judgment in it. I always wanted consent from another person to tell it, so as not to misrepresent what transpired. I didn't expect there to be a lot of interest in my other stories, so I never thought I'd really get pressed for more details. And I would have been happy to keep this to myself for the rest of my life. I have not been able to reach the other party, but I would feel disingenuous withholding the story from those who wanted more information. Now that I've spoken with my mother, and another connecting line has been drawn. What follows is as accurate a recollection as I could manage, and I apologize for the length. I spent the summer before my first year of elementary school learning how to climb trees. There was one particular pine tree right outside my house that seemed almost designed for me. It had branches that were so low that I could easily grab them without a boost, And for the first couple days after I first learned how to pull myself up, I would just sit on the lowest branch, dangling my feet. The tree was outside our back fence and was easily visible from the kitchen window, which was just above the sink. Before too long, my mother and I developed a routine where I would go play on the tree when she washed the dishes, because she could easily see me while she did other things. As the summer passed, my abilities grew, and before long, I was climbing fairly high. As the tree got taller, its branches not only got thinner, but more widely spaced. And so I eventually reached a point where I couldn't actually climb any higher. And so the game had to change. I began to concentrate on speed, and in the end, I could reach my highest branch in 25 seconds. I got too confident, and one afternoon, I tried to step from a branch before I firmly grasped the next one. I fell about 20 feet and broke my arm really badly in two places. My mom was running towards me yelling, and I remember her sounding like she was underwater. I don't recall what she said, but I do remember being surprised by how white my bone was. I was going to start kindergarten with a cast, and I wouldn't even have any friends to sign it. My mom must have felt terrible because the day before I started school, she brought home a kitten. He was just a baby and was striped with tan and white. As soon as she put him down, he crawled into an empty case of soda that was sitting on the floor, and I named him Boxes. Boxes was only an outside cat when he escaped. My mom had him declawed so he wouldn't destroy the furniture, so as a result, we did our best to keep him inside. He would get out every now and then, and we'd find him somewhere in the backyard chasing some kind of bug or lizard, though he could hardly ever catch one because he had no front claws. He was pretty evasive. We'd always catch him and carry him back inside. He'd scramble to look back over my shoulder, and I told my mom that it was because he was planning his strategy for next time. Once inside, we gave him some tuna fish, and he came to learn what the sound of the can opener might signal, and then he'd come running whenever he heard it. This conditioning came in handy later because more toward the end of our time in that house, Boxes would get out much more often and would run under the house into the crawl space where neither of us wanted to follow because it was cramped and probably crawling with bugs and rodents. Ingeniously, my mom thought to hook the can opener to an extension cord out back and run it right outside the hole that Box had gone through. Eventually, he would emerge with his loud meows, looking excited by the sound, and then horrified at how he could run such a cruel ruse on him. A can opener with no tuna made no sense to Boxes. The last time he escaped under the house was actually our last day in it. My mom had put the house in the market, and we began packing our things. We didn't have much, and we stretched the packing out a while, though I had already packed up all my clothes at my mom's request. My mom could tell I was really sad about moving and wanted the transition to be smooth for me, but I guess she thought that having my clothes in the box would reinforce the idea that we were moving and things wouldn't change that much. When Boxes got out as we were loading some things into the moving van, my mom cursed because she'd already packed the can opener and wasn't sure where it was. I pretended to go look for it so I wouldn't have to go under the house, and my mom, probably completely aware of my little scam, moved one of the panels and crawled in. She came out with Boxes pretty quickly and seemed pretty unnerved. My mom made some phone calls while I packed a little more, and then she came into my room and told me she had spoken to the realtor and we were going to start moving into the house that day. She said it like it was exciting news, but I had thought we had more time in the house. She originally said we weren't moving until the end of the next week, and it was only Tuesday. What's more, we weren't completely finished packing, but my mom said sometimes it's just easier to replace things than pack them and haul them all over the city. I didn't even get to grab the rest of my box clothes. I asked Josh if I could call Josh to say goodbye, but she said we could just call him from the new house, and we left in the moving van. I managed to stay in touch with Josh for years, which is surprising since we no longer went to the same school. Our parents weren't close friends, but they knew that we were, and so we could accommodate our desires to see one another by driving us back and forth for sleepovers, sometimes every weekend. For Christmas one year, our parents even pooled their money and got us some really nice walkie talkies that were advertised to work across a range that extended past the distance between our houses. They also had batteries that could last for days if the walkie talkie was on but not used. They would only occasionally work well enough that we could talk across the city, but then but when we stayed over, we'd use them around the house, talking in mock radio speak that we had gotten from movies, and they worked great for that. Thanks to our parents, we were still friends when we were 10. One weekend, I was staying over at Josh's, and my mom called me to say goodnight. She was still pretty. She was still pretty watchful, even when she couldn't watch me. But I had gotten so used to it that I didn't even notice, even if Josh did. And she sounded upset. Boxes was missing. This must have been a Saturday night because I had spent the night at Josh's the previous night and was going home the next day because we had school on Monday. Boxes had been missing since Friday afternoon. I gathered that she had not seen him since returning home after dropping me off. She must have decided to tell me he was missing because if he didn't come home before I did, then I would be devastated. She told me not to worry and he'll come back like he always does. But Boxes did not come back. 3 weekends later, I was at Josh's again, and I was still upset about Boxes. But my mom told me that there had been many times when pets had disappeared from home for weeks or even months, only to return on their own. She said they always knew where home was and would always try to get back. I was explaining this to Josh when a thought hit me so hard that I interrupted my own sentence. Say it out loud. What if Boxes thought of the wrong home? Josh was confused. What? He lives with you. He knows where his home is. But he grew up somewhere else, Josh. He was raised in my old house a few neighborhoods away. Maybe he still thinks of that place as home, like I do. Oh, I get it. Well, that'd be great. We'll tell my dad tomorrow and he'll take us over there so we can look. No, he won't, man. My mom said we couldn't even go back to that place because the new owners don't want to be bothered. She said that she told your mom and dad the same thing. Josh persisted. Okay, well, then we'll go out tomorrow morning exploring and make our way to your old house. No, if we get spotted, your dad will find out, and then so will my mom. We have to go there ourselves, and we have to go tonight. Bad idea. Bad idea.
Yeah. It's always a bad idea. Why?
It didn't take much convincing to get Josh on board, since he was usually the one to come up with ideas like this. We had never snuck out of his house before, and it actually turned out to be incredibly easy. The window in his room opened to the backyard, and he had a latched wooden fence that wasn't locked. After those 2 minor hurdles, we slipped off into the night, flashlight and walkie-talkies in hand. There were 2 ways to get from Josh's house to my old house. You could walk on the street and make all the turns or go through the woods, which would take about half the time. It would have taken about 2 hours to walk there taking the street, but I suggested we go that way anyway. I told him it was because I didn't want to get lost. But Josh refused and said that if we were seen, they might recognize him and tell his dad. He threatened to go home if we didn't take the shortcut, and I accepted it because I didn't want to go home myself. Josh didn't know the last time I walked through those woods at night. The woods were pretty much less creepy with a friend and a flashlight, and we were making pretty good time. I wasn't entirely sure where we were, but Josh seemed confident enough, and that bolstered my morale. We passed through a particularly thick patch of tangled trees when the strap in my walkie-talkie got caught in a branch. Josh had the flashlight, and so I was struggling to get the walkie-talkie free when I heard Josh say, "Hey man, you want to go for a swim?" I looked over to where he was shining the flashlight, though I closed my eyes as I did because I now knew where we were. He was pointing at the pool float. This was where I had woken up in these woods all those years ago. I felt a lump in my throat and the sting of fresh tears in my eyes as I continued to struggle with the walkie. Frustrated, I yanked on it hard enough to break it free, and I turned and walked to Josh, who had partially laid down on the pool float in a mock sunbathing pose. As I walked toward him, I stumbled and nearly fell into a large hole that was sitting in the middle of the night in this small clearing, but I regained my balance and stopped right at the edge. It was deep, and I was surprised by the size of the hole, but more surprised by the fact that I didn't remember it. I realized it must have not been there that night because I was in the same spot where I had awoken. I put it out of my mind and turned to Josh. "Quit messing around, man. I saw. My God. Quit messing around, man. You saw I was stuck over there, and you were just laying here choking around the float." I punctuated the sentence with a kick to an exposed part of the float. A screeching sound arose from it. Josh's smile inverted. Suddenly, he looked terrified and was struggling to get off the float, but couldn't in a quick manner due to the awkward way he had been laying on it. Each time he would fall back on the float, the screeching would intensify. I wanted to help Josh, but I couldn't move myself any closer. My legs would not cooperate. I hated these woods. I picked up the flashlight that he had thrown in the thrashing and shined in on the float, not knowing what to expect. Finally, Josh got off the float and rushed next to me, looking where I was shining the light. Suddenly, there it was. It was a rat. I started laughing nervously, and we both watched the rat run into the woods, taking the screeches with it. Josh lightly punched me in the arm, and the smile slowly returned to his face, and we continued walking. We quickened our pace and made it out of the woods faster than we thought we would. We found ourselves back in my old neighborhood. The last time I had rounded the bend ahead, I had seen my house fully illuminated, and all those memories of what had transpired came flooding back. I felt a skipping in my heart as we were finally turning the corner and about to face the full view of my house, remembering the last time how incandescent it was. But this time, all the lights were off, and from a distance, I could see my old climbing tree as my mind traced the steps of casuality causality backward. I could see the lawn looked terrible. I couldn't even guess when it had been mowed last. One of the shutters had partially broken loose and was rocking back and forth in the breeze. And overall, the house just looked dirty. I was sad to see my old home in such a state of disrepair. Why would Mom care if we bothered the new owners if they cared so little about where they lived? And then I realized there were no new owners. The house was abandoned, though it looked simply forsaken. Why would my mom lie to me about our house having new people in it? But I thought that this was actually a good thing. It would be easier to look around for boxes if we didn't have to worry about being spotted by the new family. This would make it much quicker. Josh interrupted my thoughts as we walked through the gate and up to the house itself. "Your old house sucks, dude," Josh yelled as quietly as he could. "Shut up, Josh. Even like this, it's nicer than your house." "Hey, man. Okay. I think boxes is probably under the house. One of us has to go under and look, but the other should stay next to the opening in case he comes running out." "Are you serious? There's no way I'm going under there. It's your cat, man. You do it." "Look, I'll game you for it unless you're too scared," I said, holding my fists over my upturned palm. "Fine. We go on shoot. Not on three. It's rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Not 1, 2, 3. I know how to play the game, Josh. You're the one who always messes up. And it's 2 out of 3. I lost." I wiggled loose the panel my mom would always move when she had to crawl under there for boxes. She only had to do it a few times since the can opener trick usually worked. But when she had to do it, she hated it, especially the last time. And as I looked in the darkness of the crawl space, I had a greater appreciation for why. Before we moved, she said it was actually better that boxes ran under there, despite how hard it would be to get him out. It was less dangerous than him jumping over the fence and running around the neighborhood. All that was true, but I was still dreading doing this. I grabbed the flashlight and the walkie and began to crawl in. A powerful smell overtook me. It smelled like death. I turned on the walkie. Josh, are you there? This is Macho Man. Come back. Josh, cut it out. There's something wrong down here. What do you mean? It stinks like something died. Is it boxes? I really hope not. I set down the walkie and moved the flashlight around as I crawled forward. Looking through the hole from the outside, you could see all the way back from the right lighting. But you had to be inside to see the support blocks that held the house up. I'd say there was about 40% of the area that you couldn't see unless you were actually in the crawl space, but even inside, I discovered that I could only see directly where the flashlight was pointing. I realized that this would make scouting around the place much more difficult. As I moved forward, the smell intensified. The fear was growing in me that boxes had come here and something happened to him. I shined the flashlight all around, but couldn't see much of anything. I wrapped my fingers around a support block to pull myself forward, and as I did, I felt something that made my hand recoil. Fur. My heart sank, and I prepared myself emotionally for what I was about to see. I crawled slowly so I could prolong what I knew was coming, and inched my eyes and the flashlight past the block to see what was on the other side. I staggered back in horror. Jesus Christ. It was hideous. It was a hideous and twisted creature, badly decomposed. Its skin had rotted away on its face, so the teeth appeared to be enormous, and the smell was unbearable. What is it? Are you okay? Is it boxes? I reached for the walkie. No, it's not boxes. Well, what the hell is it then? I don't know. I shined the light on it again and looked at it with less fear in my vision. I chuckled. Oh, it's a raccoon. Well, keep looking. I'm going to go into the house to see if he might have made it in there somehow. What? No, Josh, don't go in there. What if Boxes is down here and runs out? You can't. I put the board back. I looked and saw he was telling the truth. Why'd you do that? Don't worry, man. You can move it easily. This makes more sense. If Boxes ran out and I missed him, then he'd be gone. If he's down there, then grab him tight and I'll come move the board. And if he's not, then you can move it yourself. Some of his points were good, and I doubted he'd be able to get in anyway. Okay, but be careful. Don't touch anything. There's a bunch of my old clothes are still in boxes in my room, and you can look in there to see if he crawled in one of those. And make sure you bring your walkie. Roger that, good buddy. I realized that it would be pitch black in there. The power would have been turned off since no one was paying the bill. With any luck, he'd be able to see from the streetlights that might cast some light inside. Otherwise, I'm not sure what he'd do. Before too long, I heard footsteps right over my head and felt old dirt raining down on me. Josh, is that you? Shh, breaker, breaker. This is Macho Man. For Big Tango Foxtrot. The eagle has landed. What's your 20, Princess Jasmine? Over. Asshole. Macho Man. My 20 is in your bathroom, looking at your stash of magazines. Looks like you got a thing for dudes' butts. What's the report on that? Over. I could hear him laughing without the walkie, and I started laughing too. I heard footsteps fade away a little bit as he was on his way to my room. Man, it's dark in here. Hey, are you sure you had boxes in here? I don't see any. Yeah, there should be a few boxes in the front of the closet. There aren't any boxes in here. Let me check and see if you put them in the boxes. Let me see if you put the boxes in the closet before you left. I started thinking that maybe mom had come back and gotten the clothes and just given them away because I had outgrown a lot of them. But I recalled leaving the boxes there. I didn't even have time to close the last one up before we left. While I was waiting for Josh to say what he found, I kicked out my leg, which had started falling asleep because of the position I was in, and it hit something. I looked back and saw something really strange. It was a blanket, and all around it there were bowls. I crawled a little closer to it. The blanket smelled moldy, and most of the bowls were empty, but one had something that I still recognized in it: cat food. It was a different kind than we gave to boxes, but I suddenly understood. My mom had set up a little place for boxes to encourage him to come here instead of running around the neighborhood. That made a lot of sense, and it seemed even more likely that boxes would come back to this place than anywhere else. That's so cool, Mom, I thought. I found your clothes. Oh, cool. Where were the boxes? Like I said, there are no boxes. Like, your clothes are in your closet. They're still hanging up. I felt a chill. This was impossible. I had packed all my clothes. Even though we weren't supposed to move for another 2 weeks when we left, I recall packing them and thinking it was dumb for me to get clothes out of the box and put them back in. I had packed them, but someone had hung them back up. Why, though? Josh needed to get out of there. That can't be right, Josh. They're supposed to be in boxes. Stop messing around and just come back outside. No joke, man. I'm looking at them. Maybe you thought you left them. Wow. Just look at yourself. My God, I can't speak tonight. No joke, man. I'm looking at them. Maybe you just thought you left them. Wow. You sure like to look at yourself, don't you? Wait, what do you mean? Your walls, man. Your walls are covered in Polaroids of yourself. There are hundreds of them. What did you hire someone to photograph you? Silence. I checked the walkie to see if I had switched it off somehow. It was fine. I could hear footsteps, but couldn't tell exactly where Josh was going. I waited for Josh to finish his sentence, something that his finger had just slipped off the button, but he did not continue. He seemed to be stomping around the house now. I was just about to radio him when he came back. There's someone in the house. His voice was hushed and broken. I could hear he was on the verge of tears. I wanted to respond, but how loud was his walkie turned up? What if the other person heard it? I said nothing and just waited and listened. What I heard were footsteps. Heavy, dragging footsteps. And then a loud thud. Oh, God. Josh. He had been found. I was sure of it. This person had found him and was hurting him. I broke out in tears. He was my only friend next to boxes. And then I realized, what if Josh told him I was under here? What could I possibly do? As I struggled to compose myself, I thankfully heard Josh's voice through the walkie. He's got something, man. It's a big bag. He threw it on the floor. And oh, God, man, the bag. I think it just moved. I was paralyzed. I wanted to run home. I wanted to save Josh, and I wanted to go for help. I wanted so many things, but I just lay there, frozen. As I lay, unable to move, my eyes focused around the corner of the house that was right under my room. I moved my flashlight. My breath hitched at what I saw. Animals. Dozens of them. All of them dead. They lay in piles all around the perimeter of the crawl space. Could boxes be among these corpses? Was this what the cat food was for? Seeing this broke my shock, as I knew I had to get out of there, and I scrambled to the board. I pushed on it, but it wouldn't budge. I couldn't move it because it was wedged in there, and I couldn't get my fingers around it since the edges were outside. I was trapped. God damn you, Josh, I whispered to myself. I could feel thunderous footsteps above me. The house was shaken. I heard Josh scream, and it was matched by another scream that wasn't full of fear. As I kept pushing, I felt the board move, but I knew it wasn't me who was moving it. I could hear footsteps above me and in front of me, and shouting and screaming filled in the brief silences between the footsteps. I moved back and held my walkie ready to defend myself, and the board was thrown to the side, and an arm shot in and grabbed for me. Let's go, man, now. It was Josh. Thank God. I scrambled out of the opening, holding the flashlight and the walkie. When we got to the fence, we both jumped for it, but Josh's walkie fell. He reached for it, and I told him to forget it. We had to move. Behind us, I could hear yelling, though there weren't any words, only sounds. And we, perhaps foolishly, ran for the woods to get back to Josh's quicker and be somewhat harder to follow. The whole way through the woods, Josh kept yelling, "My picture! He took my picture!" But I knew the man already had Josh's picture from all those years ago at the ditch. I suppose Josh still thought those mechanical sounds were from a robot. We made it back to Josh's house and back into his room before his parents woke up. I asked him about the big bag and if it really moved, and he said he couldn't be sure. He kept apologizing for dropping the walkie at the house, but obviously that wasn't a big deal. We didn't go to sleep and sat peering out the window waiting for him. I went home later that day as it was about 3 a.m. already. I told my mom about the basics of the story a couple of days ago, and she broke down and was furious about the danger I put myself in. I asked her why she made all those things up about bothering the new owners to stop me from going. Why did she think the house was so dangerous? She became irate and hysterical, but she answered the question. She grabbed my hand and squeezed it harder than I thought her capable of, and locked her eyes to my, whispering as if she was afraid of being overheard. Because I never put any fucking blankets or bowls under the house for boxes. You weren't the only one to find them. I felt dizzy. I understood so much now. I understood why she had looked so uneasy after she brought boxes out from under the house on our last day there. She found more than spiders or a rat's nest that day. I understood why we left almost 2 weeks early. I understood why she tried to stop me from going back. She knew, and she knew he made his home under ours, and she kept it from me. I left without saying another word and didn't finish the story for her, but I want to finish it here for you. I got home from Josh's that day, and I threw my stuff on the floor, and it scattered everywhere. I didn't care. I just wanted to sleep. I woke around 9 p.m. to the sound of boxes meowing. My heart leapt. He had finally come home. I was a little sick about the fact that if I had just waited a day, none of the previous night's events would have happened, and I'd have boxes anyway. But that didn't matter. He got back. I got off the bed and called for him, looking around to catch a glint of light off his eyes. The crying continued, and I followed it. It was coming from under the bed. I laughed a little, thinking I had just crawled under a house looking for him and how this was so much better. His meows were being muffled by a shirt, so I flung it aside and smiled, yelling, "Welcome home, boxes!" But his cries were coming from the walkie-talkie. Boxes never came home. Josh, man. Josh left the fucking walkie.
But
That's
now
all
that
Josh's fault.
it's not though, whoever it was going to get boxes anyways, but they found a way to torture him with with the fact that they got him.
Son of a
Ugh. Why? Why do you have to hurt the animals?
Well, we don't
What
know
is
if he's
it?
gonna hurt the animal. We just know that he has boxes, and
And
he's
he has a bunch of dead
taunting.
animals.
He could be. Maybe he's using them to lure the boys back.
That's why they have dead animals. Yeah.
I would literally never crawl under a house. Like we have a crawl space here that's probably about the same size opening as the one described here. No, thank you. I don't want to ever go in there.
Nope. I had one in my closet when I was like in high school, and No, I just put whatever heavy shit I could on top of it. And then when I smoked weed, I just blamed the skunk that lived under the house.
And your mom believes it, of course.
Yeah. Because my mom lives in ignorance is bliss.
All right. So on to part 4 of this series. It's called Maps. There was a comment.
Also,
What?
one quick second. I was doodling, and you said the last one was called boxes, and I was drawing a bunch of boxes before I knew it was called boxes.
Did you write dentures on there?
And kidney.
And like a, what do they call those? Like word map or word chart, like where you have like the bubbles get bigger the more you say it.
It's just the ADHD. I'm like, in case I have any questions or anything, but also to doodle. I don't know. Give my hand something to do while I'm listening.
I love that.
I can focus better. I don't know what to say.
I love it. I respect it.
I have a Lego set that I may do next week. We'll see. I'm doing a puzzle upside down right now.
That's very respectable.
It's in a picture frame, so I figure if I can get it done upside down, I can glue it and then put the back on and then hang it up. And it's like the Bluey family, but it's me and my kids.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
I put it together once and I was like, I never want to put this together again. And now I'm doing it upside down. I don't know. What's wrong with me?
I love it. So maps. There was a comment in the last post that maybe you remember an event from my childhood that I always took as odd, but never considered to be related to any of these other stories. I now know that it is. It's funny how memories work. The details might be present all around you in your mind, though scattered and disarrayed, and then a single thought can stitch them back together almost instantly. I never thought of those events much because I was focused on the wrong details. I went back to my mom's house and went through my childhood schoolwork looking for something that I think is important. I couldn't find it, but I'll keep looking. Again, sorry for the length. Most old cities and the neighborhoods in them weren't planned with the thought that the population would begin to grow exponentially and it would have to be accommodated. The layout of the roads is generally originally in response to geographical restrictions and the necessity of connecting points of economic importance. Once the connecting roads are established, new businesses and roads are positioned strategically along the existing skeleton, and eventually the paths carved into the earth are immortalized in asphalt, leaving room for only minor modifications, additions, and alterations, but never a dramatic change. My childhood neighborhood must have been old then. If straight lines move as the crows fly, then my neighborhood must have been built based on the travels of a snake. The first houses built must have been placed around the lake, and gradually the inhabitable area increased as new extensions were built off the original path. But these extensions all ended abruptly at one point or another. There was only one entrance or exit for the entire neighborhood, and many of these extensions were limited by a tributary which both fed and drank from the lake and passed right by what I came to call and have called in these stories the ditch. Many of the original homes had enormous yards, but some of those original plots have been divided, leaving properties with smaller and smaller boundaries. An aerial view of my neighborhood would give one the impression that an enormous squid had once died in the woods, and some adventuring entrepreneur found the corpse and paved roads over its tentacles, only to withdraw his involvement and leave time, greed, desperation to divide up the land among the prospective homeowners like an embarrassing attempt at the golden ratio. From my porch, you could see the houses that surrounded the lake, but the house of Miss Maggie was my favorite. She was, as best I can recall, around 80 years old, but despite that, she was one of the friendliest people I ever met. She had a head of loose set white curls and always wore light dresses with floral patterns. She would talk to me and Josh from her back porch when we were swimming in the lake, and she would always invite us in for snacks. She said that she was lonely because her husband Tom was always away on business, but Josh and I would always politely decline her invitation because, as nice as Miss Maggie was, there was still something a bit odd about her. Every now and then, when we would swim away, she would say, "Chris and John, you're welcome back here anytime." Oh, wait, I guess I should do my old lady voice. "Chris and John, you're always welcome back here anytime." And we could hear her still yelling that when we were walking back into my house. Mrs. Maggie, like many of the older homeowners, had a sprinkler system that was on a timer, though at some point over the years, her timer must have been broken because the sprinklers would come on at various points during the day and often even at night all year long. While it never got cold enough to snow very much, several times each winter I would go outside in the morning to see Mrs. Maggie's yard transformed into a surreal Arctic paradise by the frozen water. Every other yard stood sterilized and dry by the biting frost of winter's cold, but right there in the middle of the bleak reminder of the savagery of the season was an oasis of a beautiful ice hanging like stalactites from every branch of every tree and every leaf of every bush. As the sun rose, it reflected off, and every piece of ice splintered the sun into a rainbow that would only be viewed briefly before it blinded you. Even as a child, I was struck by how beautiful it was. And often Josh and I would go back over there to walk on the iced grass and have sword fights with the icicles. I once asked my mom why she left it on like that. My mom seemed to search for the explanation before she said, "Well, sweetie, Mrs. Maggie is sick a lot, and sometimes when she gets really sick, she gets confused. That's why she messes up yours and Josh's name sometimes. She doesn't mean to, but sometimes she just can't remember. She lives in that big house all by herself, so it's okay if you talk to her when you swim in the lake, but when she invites you in, keep saying no. Be polite, and her feelings won't get hurt." But she'll be less lonely when her husband comes, though, right? How long will he be away in business? It seems like he's always away. My mom seemed to struggle, and I could see that she had become very upset. Finally, she answered, "Honey, Tom's not coming home. Tom's in heaven. He died years and years ago, but Miss Maggie does not remember. She even gets confused and forgets, but Tom's not ever coming home. If someone moved back in with her, she might even think it was Tom, but he's gone, sweetie." I was only around 5 or 6 when she told me that, and while I didn't understand it completely, I was still profoundly sad for Miss Maggie. I know now that Miss Maggie had Alzheimer's. She and her husband Tom had 2 sons, Chris and John. The two had worked out payment plans with the utility companies and paid for Miss Maggie's water and electricity, but they would never visit her. I don't know if something happened between them, or if it was the illness, or if they just lived too far away, but they never came around. I have no idea what they looked like, but there were times when Miss Maggie must have thought Josh and I looked like they did when they were children. Or maybe she saw what some part of her mind so desperately wanted to see, ignoring the images transmitted down her optic nerve, and just for a little while showing her what used to be. I realize only now that how lonely she must have been. During the summer after kindergarten, before the events of balloons, Josh and I had taken to exploring the woods near my house. as well as the tributary of the lake. We knew that the woods between our houses were connected, and we thought it would be neat if the lake near my house was somehow connected to the creek around his. So we resolved ourselves to find out. We were going to make maps. The plan was to make 2 separate maps and then combine them. We would make one map exploring the area around the creek near his house, and another following the outflow from my lake. Originally, we were going to make one map, but realized it wasn't possible since I had started drawing the map of my area so huge that the route from his house wouldn't have been to scale. We kept the map from the lake at my house and the map from the creek at his house. So for the first few weeks, it was really well. We would walk around the woods along the water and pause every few minutes to add to the map, and it seemed like the 2 maps would come together any day. We had no equipment needed for the job, not even a compass, but we had to make do. We had the idea to impale the earth with a stick when we reached the end of a venture, so that if we came upon the stick from the other direction the next weekend, we would know we had joined the maps. We might have been the world's worst cartographers, and eventually, however, the woods became too thick near the water coming from the lake, and we were unable to proceed any further. We lost interest in the whole project for a bit, and reduced our explorations significantly, though not completely, when we started selling snow cones. After I showed Mom all the pictures I had taken from the school, and she took away my snow cone machine, our interest in the maps revitalized. We had to make a plan. We'll go with Josh's machine. Josh has that fucking fancy ass machine.
I just love that they're really into this, and then we lost interest. We went into this, but she took away the snow cone machine.
ADHD at its finest.
And we're back.
Although I didn't understand why my mom had placed what I considered to be extremely severe restrictions on what I could do and where I could go, and I had to check in frequently if I went outside to play with Josh. This meant that we couldn't stay in the woods for hours and look for a new path. We thought we could just swim when we got to the cutoff in the woods, but that clearly wouldn't work since the mat would get wet. We tried going faster. We were coming from Josh's house, but we eventually ran into the same problem. And then we had a brilliant idea. We'd build a raft. Due to the construction in the neighborhood, there was a large amount of scrap material that the company would set in the ditch to keep it off the road and off-site since they no longer needed it for building. We originally conceived of a formidable ship complete with a mast and an anchor, but this quickly diminished into something more manageable. We set aside the wood and took several large pieces of styrofoam that were backed with foam board and tied them together with rope and kite string. We launched our vessel a little down the water from Miss Maggie and waved a farewell to her as she motioned for us to come back her way, but there was no stopping us. The raft worked very well, and while we both behaved and spoke as if the functionality of the raft was a given, I know at least I was a little surprised. We each had a fairly long tree branch to use as a paddle, but we found it was easier to simply push against the land under the water than actually use them as intended. When the water became too deep, we'd simply lie on our stomachs and use our hands to paddle the water, which still worked, albeit less well. The first time we had to resort to that method of propulsion, I remember thinking that from far above it, it must have looked like a colossally fat man with tiny arms was out for a swim. It actually took us several trips to get the raft to the impassable patch of woods that marked the farthest we had made. After we had come up with a plan, the idea of marking the ground with a stick, we had taken to running through the woods until we got to the stick, and then, as carefully and precisely as we knew how, charting our course. This meant that the impasse was actually quite a bit away, so to sail around from my house all the way to the blockade in the woods was taking longer than expected. We'd sail for a bit and then dock the raft, and then next time we'd run through the woods to the raft and go a little farther. We continued this into first grade. Josh and I were assigned to different groups that year, so we really didn't see one another during the school day, and our parents were more willing to let us hang out all weekend each week. What's more, Josh's dad had taken on a lengthy construction job that required him to work over the weekends, and his mother was on call, so this meant that Josh would stay at my house most every weekend for weeks on end. We should have been making excellent progress, but then we finally made it to the impasse and had the opportunity to explore past it. We couldn't find a place to dock the raft. The woods were simply too thick, and the water had eroded the land to the point where there was nearly a 2-foot rise of earth above the tributary, which exposed the twisting and damp roots of the trees above. We'd have to turn back every time and leave the raft at the same thick of trees that prompted us to build it in the first place. Even worse, winter had arrived, so we couldn't justify leaving the house in our swimsuits. We were getting nowhere. We always had to come home before we could get much ground. On a Saturday around 7 o'clock, Josh and I were playing when one of my mom's coworkers knocked on her door. Her name was Samantha, and I recall her well now because I would have proposed to her a couple years ago when I was visiting my mom at work. My mom said she had to go to work to fix a problem that had arisen, and she'd be back in a few hours. Her car was being repaired, so she'd have to ride with Samantha. But I gathered that the problem was Samantha's fault, and discussing it in the car was why it would take 2 hours. She said that under no circumstances were we to leave the house or open the door for anyone, and she was in the middle of explaining that. She would call every hour when we got there to check in, but she ended that statement prematurely when she recalled that our phone had been turned off for delinquent payments. Got him. This was why Samantha had to come by unannounced. She looked me dead in the eyes as she was closing the door and said, "Stay put." This was our chance. We watched her drive down the serpentine road toward the exit, and as soon as the car rounded the last visible bend, we ran back to my room. I dumped my backpack out while Josh grabbed the map. "Hey, do you have the flashlight?" Josh chimed. "No, but we'll come back before dark." "I was just thinking in case we should have one." "My mom has one, but I don't know where she keeps it." "Wait." I ran to the closet and pulled down a box from the top shelf. "You got a flashlight in there?" Josh asked. "Not exactly." I opened the box and revealed 3 Roman candles I had taken from the pile my mother had amassed for the July 4th last summer. What a ballsy kid. Fucking Roman candle.
Actually, a flashlight.
Not exactly. Kinda.
Yeah, it lights things up.
Along with a lighter that I had managed to take from her some months before. This would ensure that we at least had some light if we needed it. This was a little bit before I'd been given an opportunity to be afraid of the woods at night, so it wasn't fear that motivated our search for a light source, only practicality. We threw it all in the backpack and bolted out the back door, making sure to close it so boxes couldn't get out. We had 1 hour and 50 minutes. We ran through the woods as fast as we could make it to the raft in about 15 minutes. We had our bathing suits on under our clothes. We stripped off our shorts and shirts and left them in 2 separate piles about 4 feet from the edge of the water. We untied the raft from the tree, grabbed our branch paddles, and cast off. We tried to move rapidly to reach a point beyond the contents of our ever-expanding map, as we didn't have time to waste seeing old sights. We knew that we were slower in the raft than on land, and that we would be in the raft for quite a while after the cutoff, since the woods were too thick to walk through, and there wasn't a place to dock. This meant having to ride the raft back to the original docking site, even if we found a new place to dock it further ahead. After we passed the last uncharted part of our map, the water began to get really deep, and eventually we could no longer touch the bottom with our tree branches. So we lay on our stomachs and used our hands. It was getting darker, and as a result, it was becoming harder to distinguish the trees from one another, and we were both becoming slightly unnerved. In the interest of making good time, we were paddling fast with our arms. But this caused a lot of noise as our hands repeatedly confronted and then broke through the water's surface tension. During these periods, we would both hear the crunching of dead leaves and the snapping of fallen sticks in the woods to our right. As we would slow our pace and quiet our actions, the rustling of the woods would cease, and we began to wonder if it was really ever there at all. We didn't know what animals resided this far into the woods, but we did know that we didn't want to find out. As Josh amended the map that I was illuminating with a lighter that we suddenly confront As Josh amended the map that I was illuminating with a lighter, we were suddenly confronted with the fact that these sounds were not imagined. Rapidly and rhythmically, we heard crunch, snap, crunch. It seemed to be moving slightly away from us, pushing through the woods just beyond our map. It had become too dark to see. We had misjudged how long the sun would linger. Nervously, I called out, "Hello?" There was a brief moment of breathless tension as we lay static in the water. This silence was suddenly broken by laughter. "Hello?" Josh cackled. "So what? Hello, Mr. Monster in the Woods. I know you're sneaking around, but maybe you'll answer to my hello. Hello." I realized how stupid it was. Whatever animal it was, it wouldn't respond. I hadn't even realized it until I said it afterwards. But if anything was actually there, I obviously wouldn't get a reply. Josh continued, "Hello," in a high falsetto. "Hello," I countered. "Hello there, mate. Hello, beep boop. Hello." We continued mocking each other, and we were in the process of turning the raft around to head back when we heard, "Hello." It was whispered and forced, as if it were powered by the last breath in a pair of deflating lungs. But it didn't sound sickly. It had come from the spot just off the map, which now sat behind us since we turned the raft around. I slowly shifted on the raft and faced the direction of the sound as I fumbled with the Roman candle. I wanted to see. What are you doing? Josh hissed. But I had already lit it. As the it's so
Too
funny.
late.
Too late. You're
late.
fucked.
What are you doing?
What? Too late, motherfucker. The wild card.
Yeah, for real.
But I'd already lit it. As the sparking fuse sunk into the wrapper, I held it towards the sky. I had never actually shot one of these myself, and thought to use it like a flare in the movies.
He was a wild card.
Oh my god, this fucking kid. A glowing green orb rocketed out towards the stars and then quickly extinguished. I lowered my arm toward the horizon. I could remember that there were several colors, but I couldn't recall how many times one of these fired before being depleted. A second ball of red light burst out and fizzled through the trees, but I saw nothing. "Let's go, man," Josh pressed. "Just one more."
Oh my god. Full of bad ideas.
Lowering my arm directly at the woods. Oh my fucking god! It's gonna start a wildfire.
For real. Doesn't give a shit.
Lowered my arm directly at the woods in front of me. Another red ball of fire was launched from the tube. It traveled straight ahead until it collided with a tree, briefly exploding the light in a much greater diameter. Still nothing. I dropped the firework in the water and watched as one more struggling fireball burst freely, only to quickly die, suffocated by the water. As we began paddling in the direction towards my house, we heard a loud and unconcealed rustling in the woods. The breaking of branches and the trampling of fallen leaves overpowered the sound of our splashing. It was running. In our panic, we jostled the raft too violently, and I felt one of the ropes under my chest loosen. Josh, be careful! But it was too late. Our raft was breaking. Before too long, it had completely fallen apart. We each held on to a separate piece of styrofoam, but the pieces weren't big enough to keep us completely afloat, and our legs dangled behind us in the water. Josh, quick! I yelled as I pointed to the water right next to him. He scrambled, but was too cold to move quickly, and we both watched as the map floated away. I'm
No.
cold, man. Yeah, fucking map's gone, bro. That
Yeah,
shit
for real.
gone. But it has both their houses on it now. And
Awesome.
it's now in the fucking woods. It's fucking kids. We approached the shore, but each time we attempted to pull ourselves up, we'd heard the frantic rustling thundering towards us from the woods above. Eventually, we were too cold and weak to even try anymore. Steadily, we kicked our legs and found ourselves nearing the dock site. We toppled off the debris and tried to pull it on land, but Josh's piece slipped away and floated in the direction of the lake. We took off our swimsuits and were desperate to get into dry clothes to shield us from the bite of the chill in the air. I slid my shorts, but there was something wrong. I turned to Josh. Where's my shirt, man? He shrugged and suggested maybe it got knocked in the water and floated into the lake. I told Josh to go back to my house and to say that we were playing hide and seek if Mom was home. I had to find my shirt. I ran behind the houses and peered out over the water and scouted along the shoreline. It occurred to me that with any luck, maybe I could find the map too. I was moving pretty fast because I needed to get home and was about to give up when my concentration was interrupted by a sound coming just behind me. Hello? I whipped around. It was Miss Maggie. I had never seen her at night before, and in this poor light, she looked exceedingly frail. The usual warmth that wrapped her manner seemed to have been snuffed out by the chill. I couldn't remember ever seeing her without a smile, and so her face looked strange. Hello, Miss Maggie. Oh, hi, Chris. The warmth and smile had returned to her, even if her memories had not. I couldn't see you in the dock there. Jokingly, I asked her if she was going to invite me in for a snack, but she said maybe another time. I was too busy looking for my map and the shirt to really engage her, but she sounded happy, so I didn't feel bad. She said a few other things, but I was too distracted to pay attention. I said goodnight and ran down our driveway toward my house. Behind me, I could hear her walking across the frozen yard, but I did not turn around to wave. I had to get home. I made it home a few minutes before Mom did, and by the time she came in, Josh and I had already changed clothes and warmed up. We'd gotten away with it, even though we lost the map. Couldn't find it? Nah, but I saw Miss Maggie. She called me Chris again. I'm telling you, dude, just be glad you've never seen her at night. We both laughed, and he asked me if she'd invite me in for a snack, joking that the snacks must be terrible since she couldn't even give them away. I told him she didn't, and he was surprised, and now that I had time to think about it, so was I. Literally every time we had seen her, she invited us in for snacks. And here I had, albeit sarcastically, invited myself, and she said no. As Josh talked more about Miss Maggie, I suddenly realized that the lighter might be in my pocket and that it'd be disastrous for Mom to find it. I grabbed the shorts off the floor and patted my pockets. I felt something, but it wasn't the lighter. From my back pocket, I slid out a folded piece of paper, and my heart leapt. The map, I thought, but it floated away. As I unfolded the paper, my stomach turned as I tried to understand what I was seeing. Drawn on the paper inside of a large oval, there were two stick figures holding hands. One was much bigger than the other, but neither had faces. The paper was torn, so part of it was missing, and there was a number written near the top right corner. It was either 15 or 16. I nervously handed Josh the paper and asked him if he had put it in my back pocket at some point, but he scoffed at the idea and asked why I was so upset. I pointed toward the smaller stick figure and what was written next to it. It was my initials. I shook it off and told Josh the rest of the conversation between Miss Maggie and I. I always attributed the odd exchange to her being sick until revisiting the events in my mind all these years later. As I think about it now, the feeling of profound sadness for Miss Maggie returns, but it is augmented by a looming feeling of despair when I think about why she said maybe another time. I knew what she had said, but I didn't understand what it meant that night. I didn't understand what the words had meant weeks later when I watched men in strange orange suits, biohazard suits, carry what I thought were black bags full of garbage out of her house, or why the whole neighborhood smelled like death that day. I still didn't understand when they condemned the house and boarded it up a little while before we moved. But I understand now. I understand why her last words to me weren't so important, even if neither she nor I realized it. Miss Maggie had told me that night that Tom had come home, but I now know who had really moved in, just as I know why I never saw her body brought out on a stretcher. The bags weren't full of garbage.
Were they?
Her body.
Her?
Her.
So was it the person that's stalking him that moved in?
I think so. The stalker came to her house and murdered her, and then no one found her for weeks.
Damn.
Fucking damn. And that was, I don't even remember what part that was, 4 or 5, I don't know.
Four? I think 2 parts last week, 2 parts this week.
I think we did, let me see. I think we did we 2? Yeah, we did 2, you're right, there 4. So there are the last 2, so boxes, maps. Yeah, so there's 2 parts left, screens, and then friends, which we can finish next week. But yeah, holy hell.
Yeah. Dang. This is an interesting neighborhood. And
Yeah.
they are obsessed with mapping the whole thing from each other's houses, but it sounds super dangerous, and like they lost the map.
Yeah, they lost the map. And like years later, they lost the walkie. Like, these kids are so careless with the things.
Dare I say they're asking for it?
Well, the one kid came prepared with Roman candles, so.
Jesus. I've never actually lit one before, but let's do it again.
Let's do it again, right fucking directly into the fucking woods.
Yeah.
Like, what if it was Miss Maggie out there and he just like killed her? Like, you be the villains. The fucking villains.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, thank you for sticking around at the almost 2-hour episode here. Thank you, and we will see you guys for the final 2 parts next week.
Bye.